We were hoping that with a new president, the expectation was that this U.S.-China relationship would be a reset. We would see the political temperature come down. But given the fiery exchange we saw last night between both sides, it seems like we're headed for a more challenged relationship. What do you think?
Well, I don't know whether the relationship will be more challenging. I think that the Biden administration has reduced some of the inflammatory rhetoric, but I agree with you that the temperature remains high. And I think that's because at the core, right, we have very different visions for the future of the world, and we approach the international system from a very different set of values. And I think that's what the Biden administration wanted to do. They wanted to get out there and basically lay out how it was planning to approach the relationship with China, and more broadly, how it saw that relationship within the context of overall U.S. foreign policy.
Ian, the topic of trade and tariffs, that's where Wall Street wanted to see progress. But given the acrimonious start to talks between U.S. and Chinese officials, your thoughts on the likelihood of tariffs being removed for U.S. companies that import products from China?
Well, the Chinese didn't walk out of the meeting. They're still engaging with the Americans on the issues that we're both concerned about. And trade is obviously one of them. And over time, there's going to be potential for progress. But I want to be clear. The Biden administration was quite surprised with what the Chinese did during this meeting. They didn't expect it. They're in the middle of a policy review right now. This policy review will now be made much more challenging by those in the administration that were hoping to argue for greater interdependence and for calming down tensions, not only because of those inside the Biden administration that have a more national security perspective on it, but also because of the blowback that Biden will get from Republicans who are looking to paint him as being weak and the Chinese as, rolling over Blinken et al. I think it's going to be tough. And I think that there was a reset here. The reset came from China. The fact that the Chinese saw that the Americans were increasing sanctions against Chinese officials literally in the days before this meeting occurred. They met with the Quad at the head of state level before they had this working level meeting with the Chinese. The Chinese came in and said, yeah, we may have said we're going to do 2 minutes. We're completely throwing out protocol because we're showing you that we intend to be treated as equals. And as Liz just said, the Americans find China's worldview and their political and economic system in many ways deeply unacceptable. So it's hard to get a meeting of the minds on this stuff.
Liz, at the same time, the Chinese technology companies, Alibaba, Baidu, they're facing increasing pressure, not from the U.S., but their own government, Beijing. How do you see that story playing out? Because that certainly hurt their stock prices.
Right. I mean, I think it's difficult for them because they're at the, confronting a double-barrel gun at this point. You're right. On the Chinese side, look, the Chinese have their own concerns about these technology companies. First, that they're operating, outside the bounds of what, the government feels comfortable in terms of regulation. They're concerned about the information that these companies hold and aren't willing to share with the Chinese government. They're certainly concerned when it comes to companies like TikTok, for example, ByteDance and TikTok, that these videos and other things in terms of the information and ideas that are being spread, that somehow those are going to move outside of China's, very strong constraints, ideological constraints. And of course, there's just that issue of you have the Jack Ma and the Robin Lee and the Pony Ma. And, these guys are international superstars. And there can only be one international superstar in China, and that's Xi Jinping. So I think they're facing a number of challenges emanating from their own government.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.